Welcome to the Damage Report. It's Big News Wednesday. As you may not have guessed, but I'm informing you, John has the day off. I'm Sharon Reed. Let's try to get through this. It's not going to be perfect. John's pretty perfect, okay? Except I love when people roast him, just because he's such a good sport about it. Yasmin Khan, my fave, is here. And I actually mean that. Lots of people are my favorite here at TYT. I was just telling the higher ups here that I just love everyone. I love everyone. The team's great. The way they prepare us.
It is a good team. Yeah, we're very fortunate to work with not terrible people. Yeah.
Thank you. And isn't it sad that we have to even say that? But everyone here is, I just think everyone here is perfect.
Including all the behind the scenes people. The producers are great.
That's what I mean.
Just want to give them a shout out.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Yeah, they're both great. They make a great team. So we're getting ready to get started. This is because I almost sliced this off yesterday. Was it yesterday? Everything's just kind of mudding together. It's fine. This is actually makeshift. I didn't even go to the hospital. And this is a bleed out almost. Don't worry. Look at you. Do not worry about me. You're so concerned.
I get like I'm trying to imagine how you did it, but I also don't want to ask. But
I had made some homemade chowder. It was crab and corn. It was delicious, and I froze it. And I took it out in one of those mason jars. And I got this sealer thing, and it was all sealed up. I said, I think I'll have some of that chowder. And I tried to take the cap off, and I said, that's unbelievable. Okay.
That's like one of my kitchen fears confirmed. Like I'm always afraid of opening those mason jars, and I'm like, nothing's gonna happen. But
who knew? Now I know.
So thanks, Sharon. New fear.
Yeah. Okay. So now I've probably ticked off the people behind the scenes. They'll never say it, but I'm sorry, Ashley. Yes, I did. Here we go. So what do you say we begin with this one? So close.
Number one, she hates Christianity. Number two, she hates country music. How the hell can you elect a person like that? Let's make it a sweeping victory. The whole world is watching Tennessee right now, and they're watching your district. The whole world. It's a big vote. It's going to show something, and it's got to show that the Republican Party is stronger than it's ever been.
We've now had that voice just spewing nonsense for, I don't know, a decade and a half. We've lost track. And this is resonating with people, apparently. I don't know about the world, but the country was certainly watching what happened in Tennessee last night. And there you see the results, okay? Although the Republicans did narrowly squeak out a win in what should have been a landslide. See the silver lining there, folks. Their slim margin is yet another data point suggesting that the 2026 midterms will be a disaster for the GOP. That'll make you smile. You can see in this graphic here, we'll put it up on the screen. Republicans' margin of victory was more than cut in half from this past November. So you can compare the results in the district there. I mean, this is very telling. No, the Republican didn't lose, but they barely won. So it's like glass half empty, I think you would call it. As you can see in the graph, when looking at the 5 special elections in Trump's second term, a clear trend has now emerged. That trend is a huge swing to the Democrats. Yeah, this is not looking good. I don't care what Karl Rove says. Despite this being more of a, victory for the Republicans in the mildest way, Donald Trump is pretending like it's a huge win. Here's what he posted as if, congrats to Matt Van Epps on his big congressional win in the great state of Tennessee. Radical left Democrats threw everything at him, including millions of dollars. Another great night for the Republican Party president, Donald J. Trump. Well, that's why. It was a night, okay? It's like somebody saying, hey, yes, did you go to that really big event? Wasn't it great? Well, I went. Maybe it didn't live up to the billing. What's your reaction to this? I was hoping that this would be more of a rubber stamp that things were turning around, but it's still, there's some telltale signs there, Yaz.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of two minds with things, right? Because I don't like to get too excited about things whenever I see them. But there are certain patterns in government and in politics that are somewhat reliable. Unfortunately, one of those patterns is like, don't get too excited about things, right? A lot of times what we've been seeing, especially over the last decade with this particular brand of Republican leadership that we've gotten used to is, whatever you expect to happen, whatever should happen is not what's gonna happen, right? And it's almost to the point where that in and of itself has become very, very predictable. What we've seen in Tennessee is maybe not the outcome that we wanted, but it was still very encouraging. And again, I say that very tentatively, but we do have to look at the overall trends. And I think especially in politics, it's so easy and understandable to be impatient for change because people's lives are wildly disrupted right now in ways that they haven't been in maybe a century in this country. And that's saying something. And I think what, the impetus is for people to expect and to demand change within like the next year, the next election cycle. The truth is, though, these things take a long time to transform. If you think even about the Republican Party and how it has transformed from whatever it was in the Reagan era to what it is today in the Trump era, that was decades of very slow incremental change. And I know that word is triggering for a lot of people, including myself, but that was a very deliberate, long game that they were playing, the Republicans. So now we're trying to undo a lot of that. And I'm not saying it needs to take another 40, 50 years to undo everything that they're doing, but I'm saying we do need to celebrate these small victories because anything that points us in the direction that we're trying to go in, that is a good sign. And we need to keep up that momentum, especially right now. Like, now is not the time to let your foot off the gas as far as staying informed with things, protesting whenever that is appropriate, and then voting, not just in the national elections, not just in the midterms, but even in your local elections, because all of that kind of, trickles upward to the government that we end up having. And also those local elections and there's a lot of turnover that we're looking forward to in the midterms with congressional Republicans. Those elections are gonna matter, like the people that we elect at the local level, at the state levels, that, it arguably affects people's lives more directly than what we see at the federal level. Arguably, not.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. While you were talking there, I had one ear on you and then an eye on something I Googled. This is so widespread. It's not like what I Googled was how long did it take the Republican Party to rebound after Nixon resigning? It took the Republicans only 6 years to get the White House back. But remember the Republicans underneath Nixon, right, in Congress. They're the ones who helped oust him and said, this is a bridge too far. You've done too much. We're not going down with you. And they did the right thing. This is top to bottom ridiculousness, okay, with so many foot soldiers, so when they do one thing out of sync, we give them credit. And the truth is, they've been doing nothing but falling in line for this guy for their whole, some of them, their whole careers. They didn't know public office before Trump. So there's this. If things continue as they are, there may be reason to expect even more, considering that Democrats lead in the generic congressional ballot polling that has increased from 6 points in November 2018 to 14 points now. Sometimes I have to put my glasses on, and I'm sorry about the reflection. One of my friends said, I can't watch you. Please get your regular glasses, okay? Go get that prescription with the anti-glare. I'm working on it. So if the midterms were today, most say they would pick a Democrat. So yes, it's just the way it is. It's leaning in that direction. The Democrats have to not mess this thing up, but that's not going to be enough. They also have to do the right things, speak to affordability, grab a page out of Mamdani's book and others who are inspiring so many. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I think whenever we are looking ahead, right now we're seeing a big shift happening in Congress, right? Oh, as of today, I believe 40 Congress people, both in the House and the Senate, both Democrats and Republicans, have announced that for one reason or another, they will not be seeking re-election or they're retiring, even some of them before their term is up. So we are looking forward to a lot of shakeups that are going to be happening in a lot of these districts where these politicians are not seeking re-election, you can reasonably expect that they'll be replaced by someone from that same party. I know here in Texas we have 6 congressional Republicans who are not seeking re-election, but a lot of those districts, they're expected to still go to red leaders. So there's a lot happening. This is like a big moment, though. This is a big opportunity, and my fear is that if people finally decide to leave the Republican Party, then they vote for a Democrat. I don't want them to fumble it, and I don't want to be negative, but I don't want them to fumble it, right?
Yeah.
What we've seen happen several times, even within the last couple of decades, is people going from one party to the next. And I'm talking specifically about those middle of the road swing voters, right? A lot of people are very firmly planted in whatever party they're in, but the swing voters, they go with whichever party they think is going to give them the best life, right? A lot of people who are Bernie supporters voted for Donald Trump because whatever, they didn't care what party he was from. They needed someone who was going to change the status quo. And Donald Trump seemed like that person to them once Bernie was out of the race. So I really just hope that we can get some better people into these positions. A really good example is over in San Francisco. Nancy Pelosi is no longer running. Finally, she's decided that she's had enough of the House, and there is a very progressive candidate who is running for her seat. And I hope that more people like him and Mamdani can get into these influential positions across the country.
And I hope that the establishment doesn't undermine them and that they're able to succeed. Can I just tell you before we move on to the next story, just quickly, anytime I hear you, my beautiful friend, talking about living here in Texas, for some reason, what jumps into my head is we have to rescue her. We have to get her out of there.
And
I hate doing that, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like I want to just transplant you somewhere else, and that's not fair. It's not fair.
No, it's total. I don't. I don't know, Texas is like where I live, but it's never really felt like my home. I'm stuck here because my husband's job is very squarely here. So we're here for the foreseeable future, but
Okay, you're fine.
I'm fine. So thank you for your,
people already really messaging. Let's get a group going down there, caravan. Let's get her out of there. She's fine. She's gonna she can speak up for herself, okay?
I do appreciate it though, thank you. That's really funny.
Yeah, that's just how it goes through my mind. Let's move on to this one because it really turned my stomach. And I can always eat. I couldn't eat when I watched this. Cabinet kiss up.
We fixed inflation and we fixed almost everything, if you want to know the truth. We're bringing the prices down. But they're like scam artists, they're I call them con men and women. They come out, they say affordability, like, I see price. We're going to get prices down still further, but we brought them down from the prices they cost. Affordability is a hoax that was started by Democrats.
I don't know what to do with that, except I had another thought because everything runs through my head. Instead of playing the sound bites, we need a news station, a network perhaps, that puts a translation down. Mute him and put a translation on the screen of the BS he's really saying. This is put on there, the translation. We need a translator or one of those people. I don't know sign language, but we should also have one of those on the screen that is signing the truth as opposed to the lie. That is just nonsense he's spewing. Maybe he's not well. Well, he's not well. That was Donald Trump holding his latest cabinet meeting where he just demands his base kiss up to him while he spreads more lies. It's what he does best. I thought if you were a good liar, it was believable at least. Now Trump can't seem to pick an opinion on affordability. He keeps calling it a hoax, but then he posts things like this. Now I'm gonna put my glasses on because it's another long one, folks. Buckle up. What does this man do? Does he have to be spoon-fed like baby food? Because he's constantly using his little fingers, they're short, aren't they, to go ahead and pen this kind of thing. Or maybe he has that guy doing it for him. Cost, inflation, far higher under sleepy Joe Biden than they are now. In fact, costs under the Trump administration are tumbling down, helped greatly by gasoline and energy. Affordability is a lie. When used by the Dems, it's a complete con job. You'd know. Thanksgiving costs are 25% lower this year than last under Crooked Joe. We are the party of affordability. Well, use a damn lie. I mean, what are you talking about? People are becoming homeless by the second because of you, if they could even afford a home in the first place. Then he also posted this one: because I have invoked favored nation status for the United States of America, drug prices are falling, levels never seen before, 500%, 600%, 700%, and more. No other president has been able to do this, but I have. This is also the answer to much less expensive and far better health care. Republicans, remember, this was done by us and nobody else. Oh, we're going to remember, all right. This is a revolution in medicine, the biggest and most important event ever. If this story is properly told, we should win the midterm elections in record numbers. Oh, it's going to be a record, all right. I am the only affordability president. Talk loudly and proudly, President DJT. Can we pause there and get your reaction? This is the best diet I ever had, Yas. Anytime he's on the screen, I lose my appetite.
Yeah. It's crazy how we've become like sort of accustomed to hearing him, to hearing his voice, to hearing the way that he speaks, his very weird way of speaking. We can predict all of his little quirks in the way that he says things. But I mean, you said at the head of the story that you didn't know what to make of what he said. And like, part of me wonders if that's not the point. Like, that's why he started speaking this way in the first place. Back even before he was a politician, he had this way of speaking. But as you said, the more likely reason for all of this, including the other night when he went on that posting spree, posting, what was it, 150 times in the middle of the night? He just has no idea what's going on anymore, and there's nobody there to hold him accountable. And the emperor has never had any clothes on, right? So none of this should be surprising. But he's going back and forth because he somewhat understands that he needs to address the things that the people aren't happy about, like the homelessness crisis and people's cars getting repossessed at record rates and people getting laid off from jobs. Some of them getting laid off directly by the government from jobs that have been historically very reliable and very stable, and there are no new jobs for them to go to, right? There is a joblessness crisis, there's a houselessness crisis, there's a housing industry. Like, I can go on about all of this. They want to take away healthcare from people. Everything they're doing is making things demonstrably worse for the American people. And they just keep going about it as if, this is business as usual. And the people will continue to support us as long as we continue to divide them and give them certain other groups of people to hate, apart from the ones that they should actually be disgruntled with, and that's putting it lightly. And that is, of course, the politicians and then the billionaires and the millionaires even who support all of this just so that they won't have to pay higher taxes or whatever. They're literally giving Great Gatsby themed parties in the middle of people who are losing their SNAP benefits. So like, that is the level of inequality that we're dealing with right now. And it is farcical. It's so ridiculous. Like, it blows my mind.
You know what else is ridiculous?
Mm-hmm.
Kiss up Kristi.
Oh, yeah.
Look at her. I mean, it's all about me. Look at me. All the makeup, the glam squad. Who's paying for all this? She might be paying her own glam bills, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Donald Trump has televised cabinet meetings that are a real treat, folks, real treat. Not to actually discuss and debate policy, but just so he can have his own North Korea style affirmation. It's a kissing butt event. We're going to give you an early Christmas gift and not show you all of the shameless groveling, but we will show you one of the most ridiculous claims.
Sir, you made it through hurricane season without a hurricane.
Yeah.
And so FEMA, you kept the hurricanes away. So we appreciate that.
It's the cackling afterwards for me. I mean, these people really turn your stomach. It's probably made in jest, although the fact that we aren't sure is probably the problem, folks. In fact, it is the problem. She was, of course, mocked for this. Just look at social media and what's making the rounds. Kristi Noem thanking Trump for keeping the hurricanes away is peak cult energy. Next, she'll tell him, sir, the sun rose this morning because of you. We are so grateful, sir. Thank you for controlling the weather, Mr. President, another one said, is just the most desperate level of sycophancy ever. And it's true. It was his magical Sharpie, wasn't it, Kristi? Remember the Sharpie? Where he literally did not like the forecasting. from meteorologists. So he drew his own. He just re-about no kind of credentials. Do you know how hard it is to become a meteorologist? I happen to know it's very, very difficult. What do we do with this? It's not that we don't expect this. Yeah, this is what these people do. From Hegseth, scooting. They looked like they were almost sitting in the same chair. They were so close. We got it. You're on the hot seat for murdering people in international waters. We understand. You want to sit on daddy's lap. But then there's Kristi. You're the greatest. Can I keep riding horses and stealing people's music and making really ugly videos with ICE and posting it for Homeland Security? These people, frankly, I think they have too much time on their hands.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what does South Dakota Kristi Noem know about hurricanes? That's what I want to know. But yeah, this is ridiculous. She's obviously joking, but it's a bad joke considering, first of all, the existing cult accusations, but also considering Trump's history with hurricanes, and not just Trump's, but the Republicans' history with hurricanes. A lot of these Gulf Coast states, they're red states, a lot, all of them, I think. You mentioned that he tried to change the trajectory of a storm with a Sharpie. But the crazier part of that story wasn't what Trump did, but it was the fact that the actual weather agencies had to change their advice to the people in the impacted area based on Trump's Sharpie. That was what was so just like mind-blowing about the whole thing. Not the fact that Trump drew something with a Sharpie and said, this is where the hurricane's gonna go now. It was that it actually affected the way that the agencies who know about hurricanes had to relay that information to the people. And even those recommendations, I don't know if people who don't live in hurricane states understand this, but whatever they say, that impacts the way that people are advised to protect themselves, to stay safe, whether or not they have to evacuate, things like that. So all of that, it was very dangerous, that Sharpie. A lot of what he does seems frivolous and silly, but it does have real world impacts in ways that endanger people. And then on top of that, there's all these claims that we've been seeing from Republicans and from the Trump administration about cloud seeding, and they're demonizing people for cloud seeding. When we had those floods here in Texas recently in the Hill Country, there was a lot of conspiracies that there were cloud seeders from the Democrat side who were trying, who did this, who are, Texas floods all the time. It's not unusual to see flooding in Texas, especially not in the plains. And, so the idea that they had to come up with some kind of insane conspiracy for it was also like, why do you need to do this? Why is this necessary for you? Also, whenever Joe Biden was president, they said, the Democrats are sending, when Florida was getting barraged with hurricanes, they said, the Democrats are sending all the hurricanes to Florida because they're a red state and they hate them. And I heard that actually repeated from Republican voters here in Texas. Again, people in Texas should know how hurricanes work. I will say though, one last thing, Sharon, is that I am very grateful that we didn't have a huge hurricane hit the United States this year, because it would have been disastrous considering all the cuts that this Trump government has made to our government systems.
Yeah, and there's lots of people throughout the country that know about these cuts and the life changing implications. But Texas has fresh wounds, and all those kids who died at the camp that flooded. Look, things happen, weather happens, but when you're not prepared for it, more people die. Let's take a quick social break. Yasmin Khan, Sharon Reed, John has the day off. We're right back. Hey, this is the fastest show on earth, and I'm slowing it down, quite frankly. The way John does this, I don't know. I've got the water here. I'll try to hydrate. But let's get to some of your comments, shall we? Let's see, TYT members first, over 9,000 entered the Dragon. Sharon and Yaz, the brightest smiles on TV. John should take more personal time. I love John, thank you for that. And by the way, I'm still having a dental issue, so it's kind of like this is still a little puffy. I'm on steroids legally, but I love it when they kind of just take these little shots at John, just because he's so funny the way he reacts to them. So that's really a sign of love, when you can laugh at yourself and people can laugh with you. So thank you for that. Enter the Dragon. Miss Sharon battles scars. My wife got a bread splinter once. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I'm actually not going to be driving for the next couple of days, because I feel like, two things have already happened. I've got this with the dental thing, I got the thumb thing, and I'm worried that something could happen when I jump behind the wheel. So for the next couple of days, I'm staying on the inside. Mark NYC. And by the way, that was Scoobster who said battle scars. And I hope your wife is on the mend. Mark NYC, John, you slacker. Yay, Sharon and Yaz. You guys are fun. Oh, Lynn, I've missed you. Maybe I've just not, we've kind of just been out of sync. We haven't been on at the same time. The only time Trump didn't lie during the cabinet meeting was when he was sleeping. This is a real problem. I heard a pundit, it might have been James Carville last night, talking about how, look, you are the one who started this thing about, cognitive decline. And maybe it was true with the last guy. But now you have to live with that same thing because you can't beat Father Time. And if you're falling asleep, you're napping more, you're eating more soft foods. Hey, this is just what's happening out there, folks, okay? Are you eating more mashed potatoes and things? Are they grinding up things in the blender for you? I know he's not living on smoothies. I can look at and see that. I can tell you that. Let's see, PM 533. She should get a refund on her glam bills. I love TYT so much. And I love the people, guys, in our audience because they have some real zingers. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. I love a good comedian. I was on with Tehran, Maz. I love all these, guys. We have a lot of comedians on the air who are so thoughtful in their commentary. But it made me think some of the comments are so biting and so funny that could be a show right there where people just start sending in their one-liners and you or I just kind of get a glass of wine. Are we allowed to drink on TYT? I don't even drink.
In the after hours, you're allowed to. Yeah.
Then that's where the show would be. And we would just start reading one-liners.
I feel like once you start crowdsourcing from this audience, you'd get some really good stuff. Once you start asking for roasting, it's coming. Yeah.
They're thoughtful, it's fun, it's funny. Let's see. CDN Norse Dog Dad 5119 sent the Damage Report gift memberships. Appreciate you guys so much. Most generous audience in the world, family in the world. Let's see. Droopy Bosom Dragon 98.7. I'm right there with you. Girl power today, Sharon and Yaz. Love you, ladies. I think this is what was that Beyonce line she had? Someone gave it to me, so I'm wearing it today. Anyway, we'll get to more of your comments. We appreciate you always. And we want to thank you all for your, really long-lasting support. We're back. And there's this one, Department of Warmongers.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire or smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war.
Utter BS. I asked you if you stole my charger. I asked my daughter, did you steal my charger? And this is the kind of, you're this and that. You're talking about things that don't matter. Did you take my charger again? Bring it back. He's lying. He's lying. And he's not even good at it. So ugly. I don't care how custom your suit is, how perfect your hair may be. It's so ugly. I can't find you attractive when you lie. It's the ugliest thing in the world. And we've got a lot of liars going on, a lot of ugly going on in DC. Third day in a row, Pete Hegseth has come up with a new excuse for why he shouldn't face prosecution for his role in potential war crime. It's murder. He's continuing to point the finger at one of his subordinates, just so unbecoming, for ordering the second strike, which he's now saying was due to the fog of war. At the same time saying that, he'd left the room prior to the second strike. He said he had other things to do. You can imagine the Department of War were very busy here. So I didn't stick around for all, the bodies and people clinging to rafts to say, hey, hit him again. You did. The reporting is, you did. Big problem for Hegseth is that even many of his fellow Republicans aren't buying it. They don't like him very much. Rand Paul being among them. Senator Rand Paul also said that he received a letter back from the Coast Guard on Tuesday saying that 21% of boarded boats don't have drugs on them. He argued that it undercuts the motivation for striking the boats at all. Let's listen to more.
It looks to me like they're trying to pin the blame on somebody else and not them. There's a very distinct statement that was said on Sunday. Secretary Hegseth said he had no knowledge of this and it did not happen. It was fake news. It didn't happen. And then the next day from the podium at the White House they're saying it did happen. So either he was lying to us on Sunday or he's incompetent and didn't know it had happened. Do we think there's any chance that on Sunday the Secretary of the Defense did not know there had been a second strike?
Okay, so if he were standing alone, like Rand Paul sometimes does, he would have been attacked from his appearance to his wife to just everything, the clothes he wears, everything. But because there are other Republicans there, I don't know if they've gotten around to it yet. They'll get to him, though. They'll get to him. Considering that the administration has yet to offer any evidence that any of the boats they struck were carrying drugs, 21% or more, potentially being completely innocent, adds another layer to this illegality. Who was on the boats? Could there be women, children, innocent men? It's likely, according to Senator Rand Paul, that this was cold-blooded murder and you don't have the drugs to show it. Another Republican, Tom Tillis, senator, calling for consequences. Here's what he said. You don't have to have served in the military to understand that that was a violation of ethical, moral, and legal code. And so if the facts play out the way they're currently being reported, then somebody needs to get the hell out of Washington. Whoever that is, I mean, we know who you're talking about. His own mother has written things against him. Whoever that is the person who made the decision, and we can be connived that it was isolated to that one person. So he's saying, we're not gonna fall for the okey doke. Anybody in the chain of command that was responsible for it, that had vision of it, needs to be held accountable. Now, this is one where Republicans aren't mincing words. There are some prominent Republicans, Yaz, who are just planting the flag and saying, look, this is what it is. It seems Hegseth has mistaken his worth. And I know Donald Trump's ratings are, the worst ever, perhaps in history. But he's kind of forgotten that you're not the MAGA architect. You're a guy that barely got confirmed. They had to ram through early. You almost didn't make it. Your mother wrote things against you. Your ex-colleagues at Fox said you had alcohol on your breath and didn't get to work on time. Now, not getting to work on time, who am I to talk? Okay, but the rest, he's a monster, according to people who know him. The women. So has he confused his staying power with the guy who was falling asleep next to him in the cabinet meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a great way to put it. It's one of the best ways that I've heard him explained, to be honest. He gets a lot of his inflated importance from his association with Donald Trump. And I guess the same can be said for a lot of other Republicans and people within the administration. But the truth is, Trump is failing right now. His poll numbers have been lower than ever. He keeps breaking his own records for how low his polling can go. He's falling asleep in meetings, and Fox News is desperately trying to be like, oh, it's because he's so intelligent and his brain needs more rest. Like whatever they're trying to do, they are floundering out there. But Pete Hegseth, it's like, tell us more about the fog of war, Pete Hegseth. He is not experienced. He has not experienced the way that he likes to portray himself to be. He has no sense of imposter syndrome, which is baffling to me. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's doing or why he's doing what he's doing. He's just doing what he thinks Trump wants him to do. And he seems a little drunk, no pun intended, on power. And you mentioned that he's pointing the finger at one of his subordinates, Sharon. And I just want to clarify for the audience, that was an admiral that he was pointing the finger at, someone who has actually earned their position in our military, someone who is far more qualified and experienced in the military than Pete Hegseth will ever be. And I also want to point out, I mean, you did mention that a lot of this criticism was coming from Republicans. One of those critics was Senator Tom Tillis, who is one of the Republicans that we were talking about earlier in the show who are not seeking re-election. So I'm sure that has nothing to do with his general outspokenness now. But Sharon, this feels like the George W. Bush administration. This feels like weapons of mass destruction all over again. Whatever it is that they can say to the American public to justify their invasion of another country that happens to have a ton of oil, they will say it. And whenever people say, where's the evidence? They'll say, trust us, we have evidence, trust us, they're there. The things that are happening that we're telling you are happening are the things that are actually happening. And they will never provide any evidence. It will come out 20 years from now after we've already probably invaded Venezuela that, you know what, there were no drug boats. They're like the people that they were killing in the Caribbean were just people.
Folks, we can stop this. And you're so right to invoke W's administration. And I remember there was a colonel back then who took much of the fall, and it tarnished his reputation. Colin Powell. He was a good soldier, weapons of mass destruction. They hoodwinked him. Hey, you make the call. And look what happened. All right, 2 Republican senators challenging Trump and Hegseth. That's certainly newsworthy, though. When Republicans go against Trump, it's usually Rand Paul and Tom Tillis. I mean, let's face it. That's what they usually do, as Yas said. What we're not expecting, perhaps, is on Newsmax. Really, it's starting to rival Fox in the ratings. They have been for some time. They're conservative, deliberately slant that way. So this is newsworthy when they go this hard.
It gives me no pleasure to say what I'm about to say because I worked with Pete Hegseth for 7 or 8 years. At Fox News. This is an act of a war crime, ordering survivors who the law requires be rescued instead to be murdered. There's absolutely no legal basis for it. Everybody along the line who did it, from the Secretary of Defense to the Admiral to the people who actually pulled the trigger, should be prosecuted for a war crime for killing these 2 people.
No qualifier, didn't mince words. Nope. Top Newsmax legal analyst, he used to work with Pete Hegseth at Fox, is calling for him to be prosecuted for war crimes. Yep, Newsmax is saying it. So they got to stop the bleeding real fast, or it's not going to happen. Here's what Judge Andrew Napolitano, who used to work at Fox with Hegseth, had to say more.
You're very well versed in the law. We know that. You don't see any other side of argument for the administration other than a war crime is committed. There is no other avenue to look at this.
Look, narco-terrorist is not a legal term. It's a political term, and using that political term does not justify.
But if they're labeled terrorists by the administration, doesn't that indeed indicate that they are?
No. Only if they're engaged in violence can the military kill them. The military can't.
But it seems violent if they're coming here with drugs that could kill Americans. Is that not so?
Well, they're 1,500 miles from the United States in a speedboat with a 50-mile distance. It's inconceivable it could reach the United States.
Okay, I'll leave that one there. Judge Andrew Napolitano, again, heavy words from you. I do appreciate the honesty about it.
Yeah, flicker of honesty there. And did you see the host pushed and tried to get him? Don't do this, Judge. The judge said it and did it anyway. War crimes, unequivocal in his statements there. Yes, what say you?
If this is coming from Newsmax, that is very, very bad. And the stakes couldn't be higher. So if people even on Newsmax are calling it out, that seems appropriate to me at the very least. We are on the brink of invading another country, a country that has done nothing to us. And the administration that is doing this is being led by Donald Trump, the non-war president, right? That is how he wanted to be branded. He was coveting a Nobel Peace Prize so hard, saying, I'm not the war president, I'm the president who solves all the war. I fix all the war, I end all the wars, right? This is a president who ran on a campaign of minimizing foreign intervention and involvement, and the American people voted for him because he said, I'm the America First presidential candidate. I'm the one who's going to focus on you guys, on this country, and we're gonna stop giving all of our money to whoever is taking our money overseas. And already the Trump administration has gotten a lot of flack for still continuing to give so much money to Israel, right? And he's getting a lot of flack for that, not just obviously with the Democrats, but also with the Republicans who are saying, you are Israel first, not America first. We have a lot of Republican Congress people who are also getting a lot of flack for their involvement with Israel for that specific reason, saying, why are we giving them so much money? Now we're realizing that, what some of us might have called from the get-go, that what Trump meant when he said that we're gonna stop being involved with foreign governments. What he really meant was that we're just going to cut off American aid to all these people around the world who depend on American aid, for life-saving drugs and, just for their livelihoods to stay alive, basically. So he cut off those people who are likely going to die because that aid is being cut off if other aid doesn't come in to replace it. But instead, he is, as far as foreign intervention, like invading other countries, that's not what he meant when he said that he was going to stop.
Wow.
He was going to be more American first. But he still has to rebrand himself, right? He has to brand it as me invading Venezuela is actually America first because they're the ones sending all the drugs to our country. So they just make things up. And even if the evidence contradicts it, that evidence, unfortunately, never really makes it to the voters who continue to vote for people like Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I do feel like some people are getting wise. I don't know what MTG's end game was. Hey, let me just go make money. I'm out. Who cares? So she went out with a bang. She's getting the right advice. You kind of maybe saw it coming. But you are so right about what's going on here. It's almost like destabilize and then invade. You got Jared Kushner over there doing something with Russian leaders. And it's really probably signing contracts for the Trump family and he and Ivanka's future. And it's sick. But this is what we're doing until we say no more. Let's take a quick social break and we'll get right back to the stories. So more of your comments, and I love this one. Kara, TYT member. And we need to say this more. We actually need to say this more because we're sitting here arguing about where are the drugs and there's no proof and there isn't. But what if there are drugs? That still doesn't mean you can blow people out of the water and do this. The comment, it also doesn't matter if the victims were actually drug dealers. The boat should be tracked, dealt with by the Coast Guard as usual if they reach US waters. This has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to do with drugs. You're right. Because if it did, they would love to have these. Hegseth would, get a fresh $600 haircut, and he would pose in front of bricks of cocaine, say, "Look what I've done." Kash Patel would be there, country music, and his girlfriend would be there. We're not seeing any of that. You're just killing people as like a distraction and as a precursor to more war and invasion. That was the prettiest yawn I ever saw. I wish the audience could have seen you yawn. Yes. Am I boring you? Am I putting you to sleep?
No, I always have to make sure that the camera's not on me when I'm yawning like that.
Oh, it was so cute. Okay, let's see. Here's another one. Azimov's prophet, people on the right that have been around for a long time can see Trump sinking and they are jumping ship. So I don't know, yes, well, you're saying that some of this isn't reaching the voters who are still going after him. And there's evidence of that. Look, they couldn't get it done in Tennessee and they were so close. So there's still more work, as you said, to be done. Yeah. But there are significant people jumping ship. I'm seeing demographics show up at some of these town halls, and it's only anecdotal across America, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't look like the type who run around in their birthday suits, saying, "Free the whales," and don't use plastic straws, save a turtle. They don't look like those kind of people, not the stereotype.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is encouraging. There are some very encouraging shifts. I think I'm just a little bit skeptical because, as you said, I am in Texas. And so a lot of times, like whenever I think that things are so pervasive, I meet people out in the wild here in Texas and I'm just like, oh God, like nothing's reaching you. So some days I'm very optimistic and other days I'm like very disheartened by what is out there.
Back to the comment you said not long ago, because I glazed over it and I thought, well, this is so fantastic. It's just, she's telling a story. She's being colorful, but it can't be that she actually met people who said they're changing the weather pattern in Texas, the Democrats. You didn't really meet people who were saying it's flooding around here because of space lasers and the like.
No, these are conversations that I've had with people here in Texas, like nice people, like not like, red MAGA hat wearing Republicans, just like regular Republicans, people who just don't think of themselves as those like conspiratorial, crazy Republicans. But these are the things that they say to me in like regular conversation. So
how do you even respond though? What do you say?
It's tricky because like, you do feel a responsibility to say something, but you also know that like whatever I say, first of all, they're not going to hear it from me because they don't want to hear it from me. But then also, you can't just let people say things like that in front of you and they get away with it, because people being too polite to people like that, I believe, is a big part of why we're in the situation that we're in. So, you kind of just, like, my strategy, it really depends on who I'm talking to, but I typically just ask more questions, and then they can never, like, continue to answer those questions, and then eventually they will change the subject themselves. So you can't say these things in front of me and get away with it,
I must really look awful because someone told me, I feel your pain, Sharon. I had stoneware bowel shatter. Hey, look, folks, I've had dental surgery. My thumb is sliced, but I'm okay. I feel pretty good. And so I have to read the full comment. Member for 31 months. I kicked a kitten. Says, I feel your pain, Sharon. Had a stoneware bowel shatter while cleaning and cut my wrists. Required 2 stitches. You could see the tendon. Oh God, it's TMI, but I hope you're on the mend. But the urgent care guy panicked and sent me to ER. It ate 6 hours. Wow, that's a long time. When you got to go to ER, it's the worst.
I mean, when I first saw your thumb, I thought it was like a mandolin, like you sliced off your thumb.
I mean, I thought
I'm terrified of those things. I cook a lot, and I can't use a I will not use a mandolin. So.
Me neither. But they have these gloves. I did it like once or twice. I did it when I made this beautiful like potato casserole.
Yeah.
And they needed to be sliced all uniform, and it was great and fast. And I had these gloves on, but even then, I was like, I wasted half the potato because I'm not going to go.
It's so scary. If you're out there using mandolins, PSA, just be careful. I need to get those gloves though.
Yeah, no, please, you have to, don't use it if you don't have the gloves. All right, what do you say we move on and reset with this one? Actually, I want to tell you about Noble Mobile because I'm so fascinated by this. One of our new partners, Noble Mobile, is the only wireless plan that pays you to use your phone less. Switch to Noble's No Bull plan, get unlimited data for only $50 a month. For any data you don't use, you get cash back. You can spend however you want. I mean, it's real money. Stop letting your unused data go into the pockets of billionaires and shareholders. Switch to Noble. Take control of your data. Save money at the same time. People who switch to Noble save an average of $500 to $1,000 a year on their phone bill. Switch to Noble today. Visit go.tyt.com/switch. It supports TYT in our mission of delivering true independent media, never more important than now. I mean, look how the networks have caved. They've all caved. They've not done what they should have done responsibly. They've caved. Not here. Support us, support Noble Mobile if you're so inclined. Again, it's go.tyt.com/switch. And you'll get money back. You had me at you get money back. Okay, this next one, I can't wait to see what you all think about that. Racism on steroids.
I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too.
It's just so vile. It's like, it makes me itch. And I don't have dry skin. It's making me itch. I'm fine, okay? Feel good. The products I'm using, they're good, they're working, okay? But this guy makes me itch when he says things like this, which is all the time. You thought Trump would end that cabinet meeting without, well, dicing into some racism? You'd be wrong. Who actually thought he would do that, though? Also, do you remember back in his first term when it was reported that he called African countries S-hole and his allies pretended he'd never say that? That's not who he is. Trump has turned his deteriorating brain towards attacking Somalia and Ilhan Omar over the last several weeks. He was not done railing against innocent people, though. Here's more.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
You don't get to say, okay? You're talking a lot, but they're still here. People are here. They have a right to be here, even though you're trying to violate that. After that racist tirade, Ilhan Omar responded with this. His obsession with me is creepy. I hope he gets the help he desperately needs. I love it. It's just like the other one we saw the other day, where I think it was Tim Walz, governor, Minnesota, who said, show us the MRI results, please. There's something wrong with you. You're unwell. And at this point, you're just arguing with people who have a problem. It makes you look crazy. So this is the appropriate response. I hope he gets the help he desperately needs. Now, unfortunately, if he kept it at words, that would already be bad enough. But he has his racist gremlin, Stephen Miller. I think gremlin's an excellent word choice. He's a gremlin. Why didn't I think of that sooner? Stephen Miller's a gremlin, and he's behaving like a gremlin, and he's looking more gremlin-like every single day. So Stephen Miller, right by Trump's side, no doubt championing the latest ICE operation in Minneapolis. Where else? The directive for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement operation in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, came immediately after Mr. Trump's remarks. The effort, which is beginning this week, focuses largely on Somalis. Wow. With final deportation orders who are living in the Twin Cities, though the official said that others who are still seeking legal status could be swept up as well. Could. By now we know your record. It will be. Plan calls for the deployment of so-called strike teams, which are made up of ICE officers, agents, other federal officials. Roughly 100 officers and agents from around the country have been brought in for the operation, the official said. Folks, if you don't have a shred of decency or humanity, okay, not our beautiful TYT family, but anybody else who might have just been stopping by, and all you care about is the money, that's sad. But if all you care about is the money, do you know how much money they're spending on this horror show? You have a Hollywood flop and you continue to pour more and more money into this horror flick, this budget. It's not gonna give you the returns you want. This is our money. We welcome, support, investigating and prosecuting crime, but pulling a PR stunt and indiscriminately targeting immigrants is not a real solution to the problem. Thanks, Governor Tim Walz, for stating the obvious. Thank you for being Captain Obvious here. So what's gonna happen, Yaz, is for the next, I don't know, few weeks, more, foreseeable future, people living here, they're gonna have to hunker down. We're gonna hear and see horror stories. It's gonna be tough to see. It's another act of horrible abuse.
Yeah, first of all, Sharon, don't even get me started on Hollywood. It seems like they love a flop these days because even flops, they've don't get me started. Anyway, but Trump is speaking, when he speaks this way, he's speaking to a group of people who still believe that this country is the best country in the world. And not just that it is, it's they almost like they accept that it is just the truth. It just is the best country in the world, as opposed to we're the best country in the world. And that's something that we work on constantly, something that needs to be worked on, something that needs to be earned, something that needs to be maintained, right? There is no sense of that. It just, we are the best. And that's the end of the thought process. And they believe this so desperately because they really are desperate to believe it. They have to, because this particular group of people who subscribes to these beliefs, their entire identity and personality is tied to the fact that they're Americans. It's tied to the fact that they happen to be born here on one side of some like arbitrary border that someone drew one day. Like so much of their own self-worth is tied up in the American self-worth. And so they have to believe that I'm the luckiest person in the world to be living in this country. And Trump, he is happy to disparage people from other countries. He says, your country sucks, so that's why you want to come here, but we don't want people like you because you're the ones who made your country suck in the first place. Not true. We know that the majority of people who immigrate to this country are from countries where the United States has intervened in their government, has intervened in some way to make that place where they came from less stable than it was before. And so what do? They go to the place that, at least the United States government is not going to destabilize its own government. Joke's on them, because that's exactly what we're living through right now. But Trump also said, this was years ago when he said that he wanted more immigrants from Norway. Why would anyone from Norway want to come here? Why would they want to lose their education? And why would they want to lose their free healthcare and all these things that they have access to in Norway? Their cleaner air, their cleaner streets, all of that. Why would a Norwegian want to come here? Why? It doesn't make any sense. And then all the Trump supporters who are like, yeah, we want more white Norwegian people to come to this country. They're all so delusional. They don't understand that this is not the most desirable place for a lot of people to live.
No, you're right. And I blurted out, I can't help it. Less guns. Why would they want to come to a place where there's tons of school shootings and violence and, you could be minding your own business. Maybe you're working around the National Mall and you're shot the day before Thanksgiving and you lose your life. I don't know. There's just all kinds of things going on here. And to assume that you're the best, the brightest, your privilege, your stolen lands, all of it, it's just, give me a break. Don't you think we all need a break? Hey, before we wrap up the first hour, what did you think about the response? Because I think it's the only one that Ilhan Omar and Governor Walz can make. We are dealing with someone who's unwell. And so what do you really say? He insults and says the most horrible things. He was calling him Tampon Tim before, which, I don't know, the word tampon doesn't offend me, but remember that was his nickname? Oh, wow. Yes. Okay, what are we in the third grade? Maybe.
I mean,
what do you make of it?
That's what it is. He talks as though we're children. He speaks as though he himself is a child. But these are things, look, the American literacy rate is low, right? A lot of Americans do not have the critical thinking skills that we used to have. We don't read as much. We're less informed about the world around us. And so we are more likely to fall prey to elementary school, middle school type taunts. And that is what Donald Trump has built his entire brand, his entire presidency off of. He has always been this guy. But now as he is in mental decline, it's getting worse, not better, right? He's not shutting up. He is saying more things. He is ranting. He's typing more things on Truth Social, whether or not that's him or his surrogates. It doesn't matter because it's all crazy. But that is part of this presidency. They have to distract constantly because nothing that they're doing is actually good for the American people. Nothing that they're actually doing would excite a lot of people, at least not the numbers of people that they need to be excited. So they have to continue to distract. And the best way to deal with somebody like him is to ignore him. And we have not been doing that for the last 10, 15 years.
Baby can't stand to be put in a corner. Put the baby in the corner. That's gonna do it for our first hour. But stay with us. Yaz is here. I'm here. John has the day off, and we've got a lot more show for you. And just like that, welcome to the Aftermath. Sharon Reed alongside Yasmin Khan. John has a day off. For some reason, he trusted me to sit in, do what I do with my sliced thumb. I wonder how long it's going to take this to heal. Should I go to the doctor? I found some wound care.
Yeah,
and so
probably.
immediately I sprayed it on there, yes.
No.
And then I said, do I need that kind of like ointment stuff? And I said, it's just not that bad.
I mean, like, I don't know what's under that bandage,
You don't
but
wanna
if
know.
it's like it's such a giant bandage, like I feel like do you need stitches?
It
or
might be
something?
overkill. It might just be
Okay.
a little fraction of a.
I also like don't trust you now when you say things like that. I feel like just go to the doctor.
All right, maybe I'll go. I love to go to the doctor. I write my doctor on this My Chart thing all the time.
Oh my God,
And to
I'm
the
sure
point
they
where
love
she
that.
loves me, I now go to her brother. Her brother's a dermatologist. I go to him too. And they're like, yeah, they don't use the word hypochondriac, but like,
But
I
they're
always have these
thinking it.
ailments. I remember during COVID, I was like, I think I have arthritis. It's my hips and my fingers. And she said, well, what are you doing all day? I said, I'm just doing work. She said, show me how you're sitting. And I was like sitting on the couch, with my legs all crossed. And she was like,
Oh my God. And
"Maybe
you're like, I
just go
have
for a walk."
arthritis.
Yeah. She said, go for a walk. You don't have arthritis. Stop it. Okay. I had vertigo. I diagnosed
I
myself
mean,
with a
good.
brain
It sounds
tumor.
like you have a good doctor though. Someone
Yeah,
who's actually
she's
looking
great,
out for
Dr.
you.
E. Dr. Edibuganti, but she lets me call her Dr. E. And her
Nice.
brother, he's great too. Boy, he's great.
He's a
Anyway,
good doctor.
I don't know about the rest of you, and you'll probably tell me you shouldn't be going there for this reason or that, but I do go to Costco. I go to Costco. I enjoy the sample. So does my daughter. We go on the weekends and we eat. Sometimes we don't even have to get food afterwards. We go to Costco and we just eat. And here's the thing. I like what they're doing. Costco and a lawsuit. They're suing the Trump administration, demanding a full refund of all tariffs paid this year. I mean, these people are unafraid up in Costco. They're going to keep the hot dog price at $1.50. You also get a beverage, and they're suing Trump. Company argues President Trump illegally bypassed Congress, misusing a 1977 emergency law to implement sweeping taxes that disrupt the global economy. Political fallout? Well, it's predictably swift, utterly self-defeating, though. The moment the lawsuit went public yesterday, MAGA influencers went into full meltdown mode. I mean, they were furious and vocal, very vocal. They immediately called for a Bud Light 2.0 boycott of Costco. It's not going to work. The rage is fundamentally hypocritical, we should tell you. You have a movement that rails against inflation, taxes, now attacking one of the country's largest retailers for fighting a federal tax, the tariffs that are raising the cost of goods. Wouldn't you think they'd be on Costco's side? Nope. Let's talk about Mayor John David, JD Longo. He's out of, what is that? Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. I was going to say Silver Lake. He said, bye-bye Costco. We're done with you. How dare you sue Trump, our king? He posted about boycotting, but the absurdity was quickly highlighted online. Others were exposed for having made the exact same claim nearly a year ago over a previous dispute. Remember that one? Al Sharpton, the Reverend Al, was heavily involved in that. Costco saying we're going to keep DEI, so people began dropping them at that time. And so you see the cute rebuttals. SS says, just cancel my Costco membership. Sam's Club has more of a selection anyway. And it's a simple response. Again, I mean, you're pulling this all the time. You didn't have a Costco membership, or maybe you're in there with sunglasses on, I don't know. But this went on and on. Boycott has less to do with trade, more with a knee-jerk political reaction to any powerful entity daring to challenge the administration's use of raw power. Stolen power is what it is. Costco's case is a serious constitutional challenge, we should tell you. It asserts President Trump misused that 77 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and it argues that he's imposing the tariffs without Congress, excluding them, boxing them out. It's a massive corporate action, and it adds some critical weight to some existing legal challenges with the Supreme Court, Yaz, who will weigh in regardless of the ruling, though. Costco's move is a statement about the necessity of lawful trade and unchecked executive power. What say you? Do we salute Costco? Will you go? Well, I'm sure you don't even eat hot dogs, but there must be something there that you like.
Yeah, well, I don't go to Costco, but I would. The only reason why I don't go is because if I have one good thing to say about Texas, it's that we have HEB here, and there's no reason for me to go to Costco when I have HEB. That said, Costco is very popular here for some people. It's also like the bulk buying that I don't need it at this stage in my life, so I don't go there.
Yeah.
But I do like what they're doing here, and I do commend them for taking the action. And of course, all these people are going to come out against them and say, "Oh, you guys are DEI people anyway, Trump derangement syndrome," whatever they like to say whenever somebody comes out against the Trump administration. But it's true, a lot of these businesses, and I believe we have another story about this later on in the show, in the bonus hour, but a lot of businesses are really, really struggling, especially smaller businesses, but also these bigger corporations who, that are trying to serve the public, because their prices are going up, the customers can't afford to shop there anymore, they're losing business, and then of course, the consumers are the ones who are actually paying these higher prices, again, because they don't have a choice. So there's always so much. Yeah, exactly. It's a tax on the people. They don't like to talk about that, but it is what it is. Anyone who has studied tariffs or even understands what a tariff is understands that it is a tax on the people. And when we're in a situation right now where everything is kind of the American lower and middle classes are being completely just sucked dry for every last cent that they have. Everything that they're doing. I mean, we saw some really, really terrible numbers come out from Black Friday, which is supposed to be the biggest shopping holiday of the year. The majority, like the vast majority of purchases were done on credit. A lot of them are using buy now, pay later schemes, which is like the worst way to shop on credit. It's very bad. It's very damaging to one's credit, but it's also very difficult to pay back once those interest fees kick in. So we're seeing a lot of really poor indicators of our economy, but at the same time, we're hearing from our government that the economy has never been better, that shopping is up. Most of the consumer spending in this country is driven by like the top 10% of earners or households, which is like dismal. It's terrible. You think about it, that's 90% of the American people who can't afford to buy things unless they're putting it on a credit card. And I'm not even talking about luxury goods. We're talking about groceries bills, and we're talking about gas pump, at the gas pump. So none of it is good. I'm glad that one corporation, one company is finally just saying something, trying to do something. We'll see how successful they'll be, but I mean.
And I think too, Yas, that Costco, listen, if they can stay true to their core business practices, right? They refuse to cut salaries at some point, and they're still making more money than ever. The profits are good at Costco. And they're saying, no, we're keeping DEI, and they're still standing. The doors are still open.
Yeah.
We're not going to put up with this. We're suing. Target could have done this.
I was going to say,
corporations
what
could have
happened to
done
Target?
this.
Yeah,
they could have done it.
And the
all right,
Target
now let's move.
are not
Go
good.
ahead.
So,
No,
I'm just gonna say, like Target, like they saw a direct repercussion for the way that they chose to deal with their DEI stance, and that was after they built a whole brand on being more inclusive of various groups of people, especially the LGBTQ community. So, these things have consequences.
Yep. Though several executives at Target just keep failing upwards and having more golden parachutes. Oh, I won't be the CEO. I'll just be the COO. Okay. Bankruptcies.
Tariffs have been, frankly, the best thing that's ever happened to our country. They've always been used against us, and we never had people that were smart enough to use them in the opposite direction. But now you do, and we have taken in trillions of dollars, and it's been absolutely amazing.
I'm not a doctor. I have no formal training, no MD behind my name. I'm not even a witch doctor, but somebody's got to take his temperature. I would say take his temperature, check his pulse, whatever they do. One of those little things, stethoscope, that you listen to someone's heart. He's unwell. And, then there's the mind, but that's not going to come back at this stage of the game. Another example of why tariffs are not absolutely amazing. Small businesses have been filing for bankruptcies at a record high. 6-year-old federal program designed to help the smallest American businesses cut debt, get a fresh start, has set a record for the number of cases filed. Folks, walk outside, look out the window, see for yourselves. Things are bad out there. More than 2,200 people, small firms filed bankruptcy this year under the so-called Subchapter 5 rules, which make it cheaper and faster to win relief from creditors. High borrowing costs, cautious consumers, the Trump administration's trade war, all that weighing on earnings for the smallest businesses, while owners' optimism fell to a 6-month low in October. The number of Subchapter 5 cases rising faster than the overall rate for Chapter 11 bankruptcies, which businesses and wealthy individuals typically use to restructure debt, get back in the game. Let's look at the chart. Mom and pop bankruptcies hit record numbers. Cases under 6-year-old program grow faster than Chapter 11. You see it right there, moving in the wrong direction. Subchapter 5 program began in 2020. Then it was a way to let individuals and small businesses with less than $7.5 million in debt avoid the cost and delay of using the traditional court reorganization process. The debt limit was reduced last year to about $3 million, making it harder for big businesses to qualify. But instead of slowing the growth of the program, well, just look, the numbers, it went up, filings increased. Looks like Republicans are aware of how bad this looks, so they've advanced a bill this week. They just want to put a Band-Aid on things. They want to put a Band-Aid on things, knowing they're not really solving it. Let's just do these things ahead of the midterms, and maybe it'll work out. They've advanced a bill this week that would nearly double the loan amount for 2 small business administration loan programs earmarked for small manufacturers. Let's reel them back in. Small Business Agency announced it was slashing a majority of upfront loan fees for small manufacturers just weeks after it launched a new program exclusively dedicated to small manufacturers. So I don't know. We're back, in my view, to something that you mentioned earlier, Yaz, about whether people are getting it or they are still on board. And I wonder if things like this, as bad as it is out there, are going to help keep some people attached to MAGA.
Yeah. I mean, Trump is going on. What did he say? That there are trillions of dollars that we've taken in from these tariffs. Where are those trillions of dollars? Like, do people not understand how much money that is?
No.
And like, why are we not immediately better off for having taken them in if we did, in fact, take in trillions of dollars? And also, if tariffs are a tax on the people, where did those trillions of dollars come from? You're telling me that the American people had trillions of dollars that we were all just sitting on, plural trillions, just to spend on inflated prices. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the fact that he says these things and people believe him is very, very sad to me. But I've mentioned before on this show or on others that a very close friend of mine recently became a small business owner. I'm actually a small business owner myself, but with him, he opened a brick and mortar shop. I watched this process closely because I was working with him on it. He opened a coffee shop.
The coffee shop.
Yeah, so I got to see the behind the scenes of everything that he went through trying to get this thing open. When I tell you that he had to put like his life savings into a coffee shop just to open a coffee shop, and this is like such a basic tenet of any community, I'm not exaggerating, and he's not he's fairly well off to begin with. The hoops that he had to jump through just for the right to provide such a basic, like, old service to his community were ridiculous. The laws do not support small business owners or small businesses popping up. And like, even like the leasing process of trying to find like a spot to put this coffee shop was crazy because it was independent. If it was a chain, it would have been a lot easier. Like, there was one location that we wanted to go to, and instead they put like a chain pizza shop, like a Little Caesars or something like that. And over time, the fact that we don't have these smaller independent businesses, it is eroding our sense of community. It is eroding our neighborhoods of any kind of personality that they would have. But it's also eroding people's ability to make a living for themselves, to work for themselves, and to not go work for some corporation. On the flip side of that is oftentimes what you'll see, because there are no economies of scale with something like a small business, their prices are going to be higher. You are going to have longer lead times if they have to order things. Things are a little bit more difficult for smaller businesses to run, which ultimately leads to higher prices. And so people are all about, support the small business until They can get it cheaper and faster on Amazon. And then they have no problem. They're like, what are you gonna do? I just gotta go on Amazon and it just comes to my house for me. So it's less effort. So the things that the American people are willing to sacrifice for the sake of convenience is really appalling. And what we're doing is we are supporting this bigger corporation who is, actively taking over our country and even parts of the planet. And that is not even an exaggeration at this point. And it should be obvious. Like we just saw Jeff Bezos's wedding. It was ridiculous. And he he bought Vogue magazine or whatever for his as a wedding gift for what's her name? I don't remember.
Lauren Sanchez, Lady Sanchez Bezos.
Yeah. So like that's what we're dealing with. And in the meantime, we're like, oh no, I can get it cheaper over there. We need to stop. We need and it's a hard ask because people have no money right now, but things are only gonna continue to get worse.
Yeah, you got to look at the bottom line in more ways than one. It's not just about that cheaper cup of coffee. What damage is it doing for the long haul? And it's here. We got another one for you. We'll get to this one. Sabrina Carpenter versus the White House. I mean, she's furious. Leave me alone. I'm not with you. I don't believe what you believe. The singer ripped into the White House for using her song in a post on Twitter. You can see here that they posted a montage of ICE agents arresting people. And they thought it would be very clever to use her original music. No permission, nothing paid. We take what we want and we post vile images. In her view, she believes it's vile. Carpenter wasn't happy about that. She tweeted out this. We'll put it up there for you. Not mincing words. This video's evil, disgusting. Do not ever involve me or my music to benefit your inhumane agenda. That should have been it, right? A mic drop, as they call it. Cease and desist, I guess. I'm sure lawyers followed up. Enough. Now, an adult would say, sorry, my bad. I used your music without permission. It was wrong. I won't use it again. No harm, no foul. Let's work this out. But not the brats in the White House. Instead of the White House just replacing the music with some crappy stock music, they instead insulted the singer whose music they wanted to use. These people are, I don't want to insult the kindergartners out there because this is hostile to them to say they're behaving like children. Children don't act like this. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson sent me a statement on Carpenter's comment. Quote, here's a short and sweet message for Sabrina Carpenter. We won't apologize for deporting dangerous criminal, illegal murderers, rapists, and pedophiles, sexual assaulters, pedophiles from our country. Anyone who would defend these sick monsters must be stupid, or is it slow? Trump administration, can we pause there yet? This is so ignorant. This is so ignorant because I have these images in my head. Yes, there's a lot of people up there. And they picture the White House spokeswoman, Miss Jackson, with a bunch of like wannabes around her. Like what was that movie, Mean Girls? Regina George's. Yeah, right that. And then they all cackled and laughed, said it. It's right up there with the other comment, your mom. Remember that one?
Yes.
We gotta cover this up, folks, because it's a mirror, but this is wildly goofy. I don't want sorority girl behavior, but there's a lot of sororities that do good work, charities and the like. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's mean girl behavior, but it's like, I would love to believe that people grow out of that kind of behavior as they get older, but the truth is they just don't. And you said an adult would never behave this way. An adult wouldn't have used the music without permission in the first place. An adult would have learned from their past indiscretions, and I'm not gonna call them mistakes because they knew what they were doing all along from the first time that they used music without permission. Anyone knows that you're not allowed to do that. An adult certainly would not have responded the way that these people responded to Sabrina Carpenter. And I don't know if you picked up on this, Sharon, but like that tweet that you read, he was quoting a lyric from her song.
Yeah.
Child, like you're a grown man. Like, what are we doing? This is so embarrassing for them. But they feel like they're like, oh yeah, I got him. And it's like, oh, can you please stop? Like, this is embarrassing.
So pathetic. And I'm beginning to think you're right. It is on purpose because they want some action, some viral action. They know what's coming their way because they have plenty of crappy music to rip off. Kid Rock would let them use their stuff. Okay,
So much Kid Rock music for them to choose from.
Clint Eastwood would let them narrate. I'll narrate it for free. That's not what they want. They want the smoke. Yes, tell everybody where they can find your great work.
Yeah, I'm on Rebel HQ. I do 4 videos there a week. You can find me actually right now on Indisputable. I'm gonna be over there.
We look forward to it, a double dose of Yaz. I'm Sharon Reed. Thanks, John, for letting us try to fill the seat, keep it warm for you. We hope you'll join us again.